Hello and welcome to the webinar today. My name is Carrie Berger and I'm with the Northwest Fire Science Consortium, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. To avoid any noise interference, I have muted your audio, so if you have a question, please type it into the chat box. Also note that in the chat box I've put our website address as well as the addresses for the Northern Rockies Fire Science Network and the Fire Effects Information System. This webinar will be recorded and available to you on our website. Okay, so I'd like to introduce to you my co-host, Corey Gucker, who is the program coordinator for the Northern Rockies Fire Science Network. Corey?
Thanks, Carrie. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar. Like Carrie said, my name is Corey Gucker. I'm coordinator for the Northern Rockies Fire Science Network. Carrie and I are pleased you've joined us today. And while a lot of you are probably already familiar with your Fire Science Exchange program, I just wanted to take the opportunity in a couple minutes to remind you that the focus of your Fire Science Exchange is to share and facilitate the transfer of fire and fuels management information. The Northern Rockies Fire Science Network and the Northwest Fire Science Consortium websites provide access to many fire science resources and learning opportunities. These websites also have the contact information for Carrie and myself. We encourage you to contact us about fire science topics you think would benefit the fire management community. So please get in touch and we'd love to hear from you. Now moving on to today's webinar, which will introduce new products and search features now available from the Fire Effects Information System. Today's presenters are Robin Ennis and Alana Abramson, both ecologists for the Fire Modeling Institute in the Fire, Fuel, and Smoke program of the Forest Service's Rocky Mountain Research Station. Robin and Alana have been writing and editing for the Fire Effects Information System for many years, and they're the perfect pair to lead you through the ins and outs of the new Fire Effects Information System products and search capabilities. Robin has a bachelor's degree in wildlife management from the University of New Hampshire and a master's degree in ecology from the University of California, Davis. Robin has considerable experience in researching the effects of land management practices on wildlife habitat. Ilana has a bachelor's degree in environmental studies from the State University of New York at Binghamton and a master's degree in forestry from the University of Montana. Very soon, Ilana will be the project lead of the Fire Effects Information System and Fireworks, which is a curriculum for teaching young people about wildland fire. Congratulations, Alana, on your new position. We look forward to hearing more about the growth and development of FEIS under your direction. Welcome, Alana and Robin.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thanks for attending the webinar today. This presentation is about finding fire ecology and fire regime information online in the Fire Effects Information System, or FEIS. In this presentation, we'll showcase some of FEIS's newest products on fire regimes and demonstrate our new search capabilities. Have you ever asked yourself questions like these? How might the use of prescribed fire affect a species I'm interested in? How can I find information on historical fire regimes in my area? How have fuels changed in the past 100 years or more? How does wildland fire affect non-native invasive plants? How might climate change affect fire regimes in the future? The Fire Effects Information System was designed to help answer questions like these. FEIS is an online collection of peer-reviewed syntheses on fire ecology and fire regimes. There are more than 1,200 syntheses in the collection, which cover both native and non-native plants, lichens, and animals in the United States. FEIS is designed to meet the needs of land and resource managers seeking the best available science for use in fire management, fuels management, general land management planning, and NEPA documents. To write a synthesis for FEIS, a team of ecologists conduct thorough literature searches and critical analyses of the available information. We describe patterns or lack of patterns, explain what is known and not known, and describe implications for management. All information in FEIS syntheses is thoroughly documented using in-text citations. Here are some text modified from an FEIS synthesis on white mulberry, a widely distributed non-native invasive shrub. It says, the ability of white mulberry to sprout from stump or root suggests that top-killed white mulberry plants may regenerate vegetatively following fire. Then there are a bunch of citations. The assertion is documented, but watch what happens with a few changes. Now we can see exactly who said what, and the reader can go right to the source for information on stumps and roots, and the FEIS team uses in-text citation to direct readers to the source of information. Now look at the addition of the last sentence. However, this response has only been documented once, and fire details and the type of sprouting were not specified. This sentence is doing this. It is putting a hedge on the knowledge to make sure that when you apply it, you're not tempted to stray outside the scope of inference from what Study 61 reported. The FEIS team uses hedges to provide a scope of inference for our readers. So why go to FEIS for syntheses when you can just Google it? Well, a Google Scholar search or any citation database search like JSTOR or Web of Science gives you a grocery list of publications. This Google Scholar search for lodgepole pine and fire yields a grocery list that's over 20,000 citations long. With the synthesis, an ecologist has done this search for you. We filtered out what is relevant and spent months in many cases describing the patterns. And the grocery list is getting longer each year. The amount of fire research is growing. This graph shows that publications on fire have quadrupled since the 1960s. There's more information available than ever before, and yet there's not enough staff or financial resources to deal with it. For instance, in 2015, federal agencies took an average of 4.7 years to complete the environmental impact statements. This may be one of the reasons why. FEIS helps managers be more efficient at finding and using information on fire. FEIS provides 4 types of publications: species reviews, fire regime syntheses, fire regime reports, and fire studies. Species reviews are a staple, and we have been publishing them in FEIS since 1985. They synthesize information on plant, lichen, and animal species, life history, ecology, and relationships to fire. Here's an example of a species review. This one is on northern goshawk. Each species review covers the species distribution, basic biology and ecology, as well as information on fire effects and management. Robin will show you a closer look at the content of a species review when we demonstrate our user interface. FEIS has 2 new types of publications on fire regimes: fire regime syntheses and fire regime reports. Between the 2 of them, there is information on fire regimes for every plant community in the United States. Here's an example of a fire regime synthesis. This one is on Alaskan tundra communities. Each fire regime synthesis provides an in-depth analysis of published literature on historical fire regimes in individual plant communities, and we address contemporary changes in fuels and fire regime characteristics for those communities. Each fire regime synthesis includes a section covering the distribution and plant communities discussed, a section covering historical fire regime characteristics, which provides specific details on fire ignition, season, frequency, type, severity, intensity, pattern, and size. And a section on contemporary changes in fuels and fire regimes, which discusses the effects of climate change, invasive species, and disturbances other than fire. There's also a limitation of information section, which analyzes knowledge gaps and areas of uncertainty and identifies regions and plant community types lacking fire history data. In addition to the synthesis of scientific literature, fire regime syntheses provide information about LANDFIRE's biophysical settings. In fact, fire regimes in FEIS are comprised of biophysical settings. Biophysical settings represent the vegetation that is thought to have been dominant on the landscape prior to European settlement. To view the list of biophysical settings models covered by the fire regime, you can click on the link to Appendix A in the synthesis. Then to access the LANDFIRE data in this appendix, you can click on the URL and it opens a PDF. The PDF provides information on biophysical settings, geographic range, site characteristics, vegetation, and natural disturbances, including fire. LANDFIRE reports are our other fire regime product. They provide brief summaries of LANDFIRE information on fire frequency and severity for the group of biophysical settings covered by the fire regime, but it does not include an in-depth analysis of the published literature. Here's an example of a fire regime report on mixed dwarf sagebrush communities. Right now, most of the fire regimes in FEIS are described by a fire regime report. Reports include a summary table with modeled ranges of fire return intervals, fire severities, and fire regime groups, as well as a distribution map and the appendix, which lists the individual biophysical setting models covered by this report. Fire regime syntheses include all of the information contained in the fire regime report in addition to the synthesized published literature. The last of FEIS's publication types are fire studies. These are summaries of one or more related research studies that occur in the same location. They provide detailed results on vegetation, fire characteristics, and fire effects. Here's an example of a fire study that summarizes the research of two studies that occurred in the Blue Mountains of northeastern Oregon. Fire studies were developed to supplement FEIS's other publications. Here's Robin with a demonstration of FEIS.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to open up our web page here. So all FEIS publications can be accessed using the new FEIS user interface. So this was just released in September. So right here on the home page, you can do a basic search for a particular species by entering a scientific or common name and selecting Enter Species. So this is a great option if you know what you're looking for. You can also browse all of a certain kind of publication by selecting Find All. There are over 1,000 species reviews, 150 fire studies, and 180 fire regimes in FEIS. You can also narrow your search for a particular publication type by using the advanced search options. So these are great options if you're looking for information in a particular location or plant community type. Let's say you wanted information on how prescribed fire might affect mule deer. You can find what you're looking for by entering it. Of course, if you spell it correctly, that's always good. Into the box and selecting Enter Species. So you can see that FEIS has a review of the mule deer that was published in 2013. The acronym has a link to the publication. Some species reviews include information on fire regimes within the synthesis, while others, particularly older publications, do not. But now with these new products that we have on fire regimes, all species reviews now have fire regime information available directly from the results page. So clicking on the available link under fire regimes brings you to a list of fire regimes associated with mule deer. This is potentially valuable information if you need to know what fire regimes the species may have been historically adapted to. And there are 100 associated with mule deer, so it's such a widely distributed species. So let's go back and take a quick look at the mule deer species review. So this review includes information on the distribution and occurrence. We have links throughout to get you so you can navigate quickly to where you want to go. The biological data and habitat requirements section includes information on life history, diet, and preferred habitats. And there's specific information on how different factors affect habitat use of this species. course, the section we're most interested in here is the fire effects and management section, which includes information on direct fire effects as well as indirect fire effects, and there's that embedded information on fire regimes as well as fire management considerations. If we take a look here at the indirect fire effects section, you can see that this review is split up into different regions so you can quickly find the information that's most relevant to you. So just a side note here as I navigate back to our results page, next month we will have an updated species review on greater and Gunnison sage grouse available. Okay, so let's say you're interested in how fire affects non-native invasive forbs in your forest. So let's go take a look at the advanced search option for species reviews. We can use the select forbs from life form, select non-native from the nativity, and invasive from the invasiveness section. And here I'm going to select U.S. Forest Service from the drop-down menu. These are all federal land management agencies that are in the United States here as options. So that includes BIA, BLM, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, National Park Service, etc. So we're just going to choose the Bitterroot National Forest. That's the one closest to me today. And select Go. So you can see there's 34 species reviews available on non-native invasive forbs in the Bitterroot National Forest. So it's a nice quick way to see what your options are for your particular needs on that day. So what if you're interested in information on historical fire regimes? Let's go home and use the Find All button to take a look at the options. So this is, again, our newest publications, and this was not an option to look for fire regimes until September, so this is very new. Our system is slow today. All right. So you see we have 185 fire regimes in FEIS. Fire regime syntheses were first published in 2013. So anything that was dated in 2012 is a fire regime report. So far, the FEIS team has published syntheses for fire regimes in Alaska, California, and Hawaii. And we are currently writing syntheses on Black Hills Ponderosa pine, Rocky Mountain Ponderosa pine, and Pacific Northwest Ponderosa pine fire regimes. So look for those syntheses to be published in the near future. Eventually, we hope to publish syntheses of all the fire regimes. So that's something to look forward to for us. So the fire regime syntheses or reports can be accessed by clicking on the links under fire regime title. With a glance, you can see the historical minimum and maximum mean fire return intervals in these two columns. The information displayed in these columns is that provided by LANDFIRE modeling unless a synthesis was published for that fire regime, in which case it is selected by the staff here from information found in the published literature. The biophysical settings and data column provides links to the appendix with the LANDFIRE information that Alana told us about earlier. There are also links to fire studies and species reviews that are associated with each title. All results can be exported using the Export Table button. So you can access that at any time. So let's take a quick look at the fire regime synthesis for Alaskan white spruce. This was published just last year. So in addition to the features Alana mentioned earlier, fire regime syntheses include a summary with information, sort of a summary of the synthesis, and includes that table with the LANDFIRE information. Each summary also includes that historical fire regime section with the fire regime characteristics broken into the different sections so the data is quickly attained without, you can go right to where you're looking for. I'm going to click on fire frequency here and sort of show you that we make every effort to put things in tables using summary tables so that the users can quickly see what information on fire regimes is available, and you can kind of compare more easily. And then this one has links to where that particular study was mentioned in the text if you can want further details on what's available here on the table. And going back to the table of contents, you can also see that this particular fire regime synthesis, the contemporary changes in fire regime sections includes information on fire exclusion, human ignitions, and climate change. And other fire regime syntheses may have information on non-native invasive species here as well. So you can quickly find information that way. So what if you're interested in information on historical fire regimes and plant communities in your area? And of course, that's today the Northwest and Northern Rockies regions. Well, let's go to the home page. And we're going to use the advanced search option to find fire regimes. And we're going to do a map location search. This is based on a Google map, so you can zoom in, pan, place your location. Today we'll look at northern North Dakota. And click go. We can see what fire regimes might be in that area based upon the plant community, the BPSs in that 50-mile radius circle placed around that location. And in this case, there are 8 to choose from. So what if a species you're interested in does not have a species review or a fire regime associated with it? Our third publication type, fire studies, are a good option in that case. So we're going to take a look at the advanced search options for fire studies. Prickly lettuce is a good example. We do not have a species review or fire regime synthesis available, but we do have some information available in our fire studies. So we're going to go take a look at what we have here in FEIS about this species. So we see quickly that we have 7 fire studies available with fire effects information on prickly lettuce. They're from Idaho, Michigan, Montana, and Oregon. You can access the fire regime study by clicking on the Summarizes Research By column. We're going to look at Armor and Others as an example. And we can use the find function to find prickly lettuce in the text. And quickly we see that prickly lettuce was considered a fire-adapted species by these authors, and that it was most common in high-intensity burn sites. So I'm going to close out of our demo really quickly. And so hopefully I've shown you that we can answer all kinds of different questions. Using FEIS and the new user interface is a great tool for accessing that information. So as a recap, species reviews and fire studies are great resources for syntheses of information on fire effects and fire ecology. And fire regime syntheses and reports are great resources for syntheses of information on historical and contemporary fire regimes. So if after examining all those publication types and you still don't find the information you need, we have one more resource for you. On the home page is a link to a citation database. You can click go and you'll be taken to the Citation Retrieval System, or CRS. The CRS is one of the references databases that we use to find documents to review. It contains more than 60,000 citations, and we are continually updating it with the most recent publications on fire. So CRS is a great place to go if you're looking to supplement the syntheses in FEIS with the most up-to-date literature on fire. CRS also contains many rare and historical documents. You can contact CRS staff if you have any interest in doing searches, and if you have complicated searches, we're happy to help. So we're always looking for feedback on how FEIS is being used and on ways of improving FEIS. So please use the Contact Us link on the home page to provide feedback. And you can also sign up for FEIS News to get the latest information on FEIS. So with that, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Robin and Alana. It seems like such a great resource and so much information available. We really appreciate you sharing that with us and showing us how to click through with different search items. So at this point, I'll open it up to questions for our presenters. If anybody has a question, go ahead and put that in the chat box, and we can go ahead and get that answered. So I guess I have a question. Robin or Alana, you work closely then with the LANDFIRE folks with the biophysical settings?
Yes, correct.
Okay, great.
We're working with them to help improve their models so that it will be a nice positive feedback loop where we can provide information from the literature to make those models better.
Fantastic. We do have a question, and that question is, do you have any fire regime syntheses on species in the Northern Rockies or Northwest?
The question was, do we have any fire regime syntheses for the Northern Rockies region? We don't currently. We have syntheses available for Alaska, Hawaii, and parts of California, and then we'll have several Ponderosa pine syntheses coming this year, so look for those. There'll be one on Rocky Mountain Ponderosa pine and Pacific Northwest Ponderosa pine, Black Hills Ponderosa pine sometime this year.
But we do have fire regime reports available for the plant communities in these regions.
Yeah, so it's important to note that when you open up those fire regime reports, that you can access the individual BPSs, and then the PDFs that you can link to within them have really great descriptions of what the current knowledge was at that time when they were developed. So there's quite a bit of information in the details of those PDFs that you can access to find information too. Okay,
great. So then you mentioned, there's another question here from Stacy. You mentioned that products pre-2013 are not syntheses, but instead are ? What is the difference, and is it easy to determine in the search results between the two?
Yes, the difference is, I think Stacy figured it out actually. If it's dated 2012, then it is a fire regime report. And the fire regime reports, if you click and open them, you'll see they're 1 to 2 pages long. They're very brief, and they just have those 3 sections of the summarized biophysical setting model table, the distribution map, and what else am I missing?
The appendix.
And the appendix, which brings you to the information within the biophysical settings. So anything 2012 is a fire regime report. Anything after that is a synthesis. And we have about 10 to 15 syntheses so far, I believe. And 3 of them will become, 3 new ones for these regions will be coming out shortly.
Okay. Another question comes in from Julie. So do you have fire regime historical and contemporary for Northern Rockies Ponderosa pine?
We will.
Yes, that's what we will be coming out with shortly. One of our writers is writing that synthesis right now, and I would guess in, maybe 2 months you'll be seeing that synthesis. And until then, you can look at the report, which, doesn't really include much information on the contemporary changes, but there could be, some depending on what's in those BPS descriptions.
Okay. So I don't see any more questions. So if you can get your questions in. Again, thank you so much, Ilana and Robin, for coming on today and explaining this. It's extremely helpful.
Thank you for hosting. It was great.
Absolutely. Well, if there are no other questions, I don't see anybody else typing. Let me just see, make sure. I have another question. Are you available to call for help if we still have questions related to getting specific fire information out of FEIS even after this helpful webinar?
Absolutely. Please use the contact us link on the homepage, and we're more than happy to help. We're always available.
Okay.
Or you can contact us directly.
Yep, you can contact us directly. You could also sign up for our news, and then you'll get regular updates from us, or semi-regular updates from us.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And like I said at the beginning, this webinar has been recorded, and I know both Corey and I will get this up on our website so that if you miss something or you feel you don't quite understand, you can watch it again or absolutely contact the presenters, as well as share that webinar with others who may have missed it, that you think it might be helpful to them. Okay, folks, have a great day, everybody, and thanks again for joining us on our webinar today.
Thank you.
Thank you.